There are 5 steps in this leftist coup d'etat in the battle of public opinion, which put together the DDDCR model. Part 1, D, declare the winner. Declare Biden as winner and control the battleground of public opinion. Part 2, D, deny. Deny everything. Deny to the end. Refuse to acknowledge all allegations and questions regarding the election fraud. Part 3, D, discredit the opponents. Destroy the image and undermine the credibility of all whistleblowers and President Trump's team. Parts 4, C, counter allegation. Attack the opponent by launching a new public opinion attack on the enemy, creating another public opinion battlefield to divert the attention and exhaust the opponent. Part 5R, repeat, repeat, repeat. Repeatedly proclaim and indoctrinate the lies 1,000 times. Indoctrinate people with these lies over and over and over again. And eventually people will start to believe the lie. These are the methods being done. What I have observed in this election so far, right? The far left forces have waged a specific tactic on the public opinion. It can be broken down to 5 steps. It's called the 5 steps to seize power in public opinion. Part 1, D, declaration of the winner, right? The first D is declare the winner, which is to falsely declare the winner of this election. The election was held on November 3rd, but there were many doubts and controversies during the election process. Not only did many swing states suddenly stop counting votes, but after counting resumed, Biden's vote counts increased abnormally. They skyrocketed. You can look at the trajectory, and Biden's votes go like this. Is that a normal trajectory, right? No, not at all. We've never seen it like that. Again, President Trump has published this data on Twitter multiple times, warning that there was a vote dump on Biden. Something weird happened. Soon afterwards, various testimonies and evidence disclosed the election fraud emerged, cases like this emerging one after the next. People saying they're witnessing election fraud, people saying things are happening, people warning on Twitter, statements coming out, you name it. Tons of them. And none of the media is talking about it. Just grassroots voices saying, I saw this here. Poll workers saying, I saw this here. Politicians warning about stuff nonstop, right? And what happens on top of that, right? The President Trump campaign immediately filed lawsuits in various places, but the mainstream media, this far left media, jumped the gun and declared Biden the winner on November 7th. Now, and later, Biden declared himself the president-elect. Who is he to declare that he's president-elect? However, these leftist politicians, the leftist media, completely and deliberately omitted the facts that the election was still open, that lawsuits were still underway, and so on. They made a preemptive jump to declare the winner based on who they wanted to win, even though it was not legitimate. And they declared Biden's victory and crowned Biden the president. Now, if that's not a march on Rome, so to speak, then tell me what is. If that is not a march on Rome type coup, then what is? Now, even though the chairman of the Federal Election Commission came out the next day and said there was fraud in the election, it did not stop these far left groups from declaring Biden the winner. And social media outlets like Facebook, Twitter, so on, automatically censored and labeled their posts and comments, saying it was fake news, actively declaring Biden the presumptive winner of the U.S. presidential elections. You were censored for saying otherwise. In other words, the first step of this coup, which is exactly what it was, the first step of this coup was to declare that Biden is the winner, and then through mass media, social media disinformation, create an overwhelming atmosphere of Biden's victory by removing or blocking all opposing voices and questions in an attempt to construct a Biden won, Trump lost concept in the minds of the American people and in the perceptions of the world. That was a coup. Now, the second part of this was D, again, deny, right? How did this play out? The second step, the second D is denial. Deny everything, deny to the end. to deny all accusations and questions regardless of evidence, regardless of what comes out. Now again, deny, right? How did this denial work? As you can see, since Election Day, there have been all kinds of questions and suspicions on the fraud, including the same persons voting multiple times, dead people voting, proven, there's been evidence of it, non-citizens receiving ballots, people's votes being casted by someone else, so on, so on, so on. We talked about this earlier in the episode. However, in the face of these questions and evidence, these far-left news outlets, these news anchors, these so-called experts bluntly omitted every piece of evidence and claim that these allegations are baseless and they're being done without evidence. They're denying the evidence completely and then claiming there's no evidence. And they're telling the people of the world this. Now, even Biden's former boss, former U.S. President Barack Obama, has appeared in public in the last couple of days criticizing President Trump's camp of having no actual evidence of election fraud, claiming there was nothing illegal or fraudulent about the election. The official from the Department of Homeland Security also jumped in to say that, quote, the November 3rd election was the most secure in America's history. It was fired because of it. Now, to put it bluntly, no matter what questions and evidence the Trump camp has, right? No matter what they present, no matter what information they bring out, this leftist camp denies it and tries to silence you if you say otherwise. They deny it and then try to silence the opposition. Now, part 3 in this coup that has been launched is to discredit others, to destroy their reputations. This is a communist method. It means launching public opinion attacks against all questionable dissidents, which may be a fabricated smear or an exaggerated smear to undermine the credibility of the dissidents and their words. As an example, right, Richard Hopkins, a whistleblower in Pennsylvania who worked at the post office, testified that the Pennsylvania postmaster ordered that all ballots delivered after November 3rd to be backdated as if they were delivered before November 3rd, which is an outright official involvement in election fraud. The Washington Post, the formerly world-renowned newspaper, immediately published a story citing an anonymous source, claiming that Hopkins had admitted that his allegations were not true and were fabricated, and that he had recanted his claim. As a result, what happened? Hopkins came out publicly on video again, emphasizing he had not recounted his allegations, that his allegations were true, and he criticized the Washington Post of reporting fake news. And he also revealed that he had been threatened by federal agents for telling the truth. In other words, this individual, this whistleblower, came out, made claims he was lied about by the Washington Post. That is fake news. Were they censored for publishing fake news? Did Twitter, put an alert on their profile saying this is fake news? Did Facebook put an alert saying this has been fact-checked as fake news? Not only that, not only was that fake, not only did these camps do this deliberately, did they, cite anonymous sources saying this, he was threatened for it. And again, they're wondering why the Trump legal team is not releasing the names of all their witnesses. They're wondering why they're not releasing the names of witnesses when people like him have been threatened. Now, why did the Washington Post make these fake reports? And that's what it is. Well, it is to destroy the credibility of this scoop, to destroy the credibility of this claim, to undermine the credibility of the whistleblower, and thereby reduce the lethality of this evidence against the Biden camp. Now, part 4 of this coup d'etat we're witnessing is C, counter allegation the opponent, right? You counter the allegations of the opponent. The 4th step again, right? C, counter allegation, which is to launch a counter allegation to attack the opponent. Again, now, not only does the left seek to undermine and suppress the credibility of the opponent's accusation, but they also seek to find another battleground, initiating a new round of attacks against the allegations, so that on one hand, aggravate and undermine the opponent's credibility, and on the other, distract the attention and focus of the opponent on public opinion, right? To cause distraction on one side, to attack them on the other side. For example, the U.S. media outlets, again, They've recently taken the same action to report on Trump, again, that he may face lawsuits if he leaves office. The purpose behind these reports: accuse people of what you're accused of. Use the same weapons against them that they've used against you. It's a common old tactic they've always used. The purpose behind these reports was to paint the picture to the public that President Trump refuses to admit defeat for fear of being prosecuted. They're making it seem that the reason Trump is not conceding is because he's a fear of prosecution, and that President Trump has a hidden agenda. Therefore, he's not willing to give up the presidency. They're trying to make it seem that that is the purpose of Trump pushing as hard as he is. Make it seem like he's just afraid, and that's why he's pushing as hard as he is. This is the illusion they're propping up. The purpose of these reports is not only to accuse President Trump of having hidden agendas, but also to further discredit President Trump's image, thereby undermining the legitimacy and credibility of the accusation from President Trump's team. Now, the fifth step in this coup d'etat we're witnessing is R, repeat, repeat, repeat. This is a big lie tactic, a Nazi tactic. Repeat a lie often enough, repeat it frequently enough, and eventually people will accept it. Now, after the media outlets have completed the first 4 steps, they just keep repeating their original argument and claims. For example, Biden won. Keep repeating that lie. Biden won. End quote. There was no fraud in the election. Keep repeating these 2 lies. Biden won, no fraud. Keep repeating them until people finally accept them. How many of you have logged into Instagram, logged into Twitter, logged into Facebook, and saw those 2 statements? Biden is the presumptive winner of the 2020 presidential elections, right? And right below it, there was no fraud in the election. Learn about how secure the elections were. These 2 lies are going to be repeated to you on and on and on and on, because this is part of their tactic. Repeat the lie over and over and over again until it becomes an accepted truth. For example, The Guardian, a British leftist media outlet, congratulated Biden on his birthday, saying that Biden would be the oldest president in U.S. history. The New York Times went even further to pave the way for the coup by declaring that the U.S. economy will be better off with Biden in office. As you can see, the leftist camp, these far-left groups, use 2 tactics in this manipulation of public opinion. First, to maximize the statements or lies that they want to tell. Second, right, to try to silence all the opposing voices and eliminate all the sources that want to expose their lies. Now, Joseph Goebbels, the former minister of propaganda of Nazi Germany, once said, and I mentioned this briefly, he once said this: if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. It's a Nazi tactic they're using. Now, therefore, we should all understand that the American leftists, the German Nazis, the Chinese Communist Party, the Soviet Communist Party, and other totalitarian systems all have the exact same thinking and logic, right? They all want to use lies and propaganda to deceive the people, to defeat their enemies, and to seize power of the state, and to step by step realize their path to a totalitarian system.